Just gonna hold a moment while we wait for the last few people that are just loading in. So we'll just wait a moment. Welcome everybody that's coming so far. Just holding on until we get a few people are just contacting us there to get connected in. Might just wait one more minute while we wait for the last few participants coming through. Okay, so we'll just begin. So welcome everybody to the webinar this evening for Icon Institute of Australia, Your Future in Community Services and Social Work. We will be going through a little bit with you tonight. We'll just move on here. So just a couple of introductions. Today you will hear from myself, Ross, Natalie Morton, our academic program coordinator of community services and social work. And Nikita will be answering any of your questions or anything that you have. You'll see there is a Q&A box down at the bottom if you wish to pop in any questions throughout the whole webinar. So welcome everyone, and we'll just move on. So for the questions, if you have any questions for us that you are pressing questions that we're not going through within the webinar, please pop them into the Q&A box. This would include admissions requirements, course structure, practice experience or practical experience, accreditation, accessibility, class sizes and diversity, student life. You can ask your question within the Q&A box, and we have Nikita there, happy to answer. And any questions that are unanswered, we'll be able to go through them with Natalie at the end of the chat. So first off, Natalie, how are
Yes.
you this evening?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Great. Well, Natalie, I'll just let you introduce yourself. I don't think I've done you justice there, so please fire away.
But that's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Firstly, I'd just love to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that we are all on tonight, and to just acknowledge that this land was never ceded and always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Yeah, so just to quick introduction of myself. I am the academic program coordinator here at ICON Institute of Australia. So I oversee three courses, or four courses actually, the Diploma and Bachelor of Community Services and the Bachelor and Masters of Social Work. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a social worker. That's my professional background. And I've worked in a whole range of different fields of practice. And if you decide to come and study with us, you'll learn about the fields of practice. But just to give you an idea, I've worked in foster care and child protection. I've worked in working with people with disabilities, children and adults. I've done a lot of work with children and families. And I've also operated my own independent practice where I've been offering individual, couple and family therapy. So as a social worker, I have actually kind of specialised in a few different therapeutic approaches. So I've actually really do identify as a narrative therapist, and that is a particular mode of working with people. I have been working as a social worker for a lot of years, and it's been an incredibly diverse, there's been immense and diverse opportunities for me in this area. So not only have I've also been able to work, face-to-face with clients, but also running groups, program planning and program sort of development, consultancy, policy, and the list does kind of go on a little bit now in academia and education. So there's a lot of both of these programs that actually just give students very many opportunities for employment, actually. But that's just a little bit about me. So back to you, Ross.
Thank you very much, Natalie. And you certainly have a great repertoire there of many different services you've done. What I would like to know is, and what I'm sure a lot of people that are joining the webinar tonight are wondering, what is the difference between community services and social work?
Yeah, look, they're very similar. There's quite a lot of overlap. And so both areas involve working at different levels with individuals, families and groups. Probably the slightly different sort of part of it is that social work is probably more embedded in theories and thinking about the structures that support the services. There's a lot of focus on how power operates. So there's quite a strong theoretical base to what you do from a social work point of view. Community services does have those elements as well, but it's probably more focused on the direct work with people. However, social work does that as well. So there's a lot of shared content. And in fact, if you were to come and do the program with us, you would find that you would be sitting in some classes with each other. And then there's some separate subjects which are more specific to the discipline that you've chosen. So in terms of methods and approaches, again, there's a lot of overlap. But community services workers would typically probably find themselves doing a lot more case management. And that can be in areas like working in disability, in employment services, in child protection. And social work, again, would be doing a lot of casework and individual counselling, as well as advocacy, and also kind of more broadly working, in sort of communities in terms of development policy, things like that. So in terms of the settings, again, a significant overlap. There is some differences though. When a qualified social worker can get probably more jobs working in hospital settings, probably more jobs in child protection, and in terms of government departments, they're more likely to employ a social worker or a psychologist. So there can be some areas like that. But if you're really passionate about working with people, you will find that either with a Bachelor's of Community Services or a Bachelor of Social Work or Masters in Social Work, you will be able to really do that work with people from all sorts of walks of life. Some of the other areas we talk about fields of practice. So fields of practice can be, working with children and families. It can be working with people with disabilities. It could be working with refugees and asylum seekers. You could be working in homelessness, working in the aged care sector, working in mental health. So there's a whole range of fields of practice that we talk about, and you could potentially be working in any of those fields of practice with both degrees. You may just be given a bit more responsibility sometimes as a social worker. That may be this, you might be able to move into management a little bit more quickly, but as a community services graduate, you can also be in a management role. So there is a lot of overlap. In terms of what we're hoping for our client groups, in terms of our involvement in their lives, is we are really wanting to support people who experience social exclusion, actually. So we're wanting to support them to be part of society rather than living on the margins of life. We are working towards empowerment and sort of supporting people who are, in crisis situations. And again, given what I mentioned before about social work having maybe a slightly more theoretical basis, we may also be working more at systemic change. So advocacy, again, working in policy change, working within organisations to look at organisational development and safeguarding practices. So that could be some of the sort of things that we're kind of hoping for. But generally, we talk a lot about human rights, social justice, empowerment, respect. They would be the 4 key things that we just talk about in both community services and social work as our hopes for our client group.
Wow, a really broad spectrum of work that they can get into in either, and it's a lot of crossover, but yeah, very interesting. I also will advise, I see that we have a few late participants that have just come on. Remember that we do have the Q&A box. If you have any questions, please pop them in there. If anything is unclear or you wish to go back over anything, please pop that in there. Yeah, so just moving on. Thank you very much for that, Natalie. Just in terms of the course overview, Natalie,
yes.
Could you just give us a breakdown of the 4 different courses that we offer here at ICON?
Yeah. So firstly, the Diploma of Community Services is a tertiary level qualification, and it is embedded in the Bachelor of Community Services. So if you enrolled in a Diploma of Community Services, the year that you do would be the first year in the Bachelor of Community Services. So then you can have the option of continuing on to complete the bachelor's if you're loving the course. So it is a pathway to the bachelor's program, and it also can be a pathway into the Bachelor of Social Work as well. It doesn't involve a placement, whereas once you proceed into the Bachelor of Community Services, there is 2 placements that you're doing, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a second. But yeah, so the Bachelor of Community Services, again, it's about, there's a bit of a repeat there in terms of what's on the slide, but it is, graduates will find that they can work, really have very rewarding careers in a range of community services. And the thing that's very important is that we have built this program to align with the Community Work Australia accreditation requirements. That's a really important priority for us, is to make sure that we meet all of the objectives of that accreditation, those accreditation guidelines. So when I talk about placements for both the Bachelor of Community Services, for the last 3 degrees there, the students must go on placement. So that means that you'll be placed into an agency where you will be learning on the job, developing skills under supervision, where you're actually sort of quite hands-on, observing and developing confidence and skills to be able to do the work. So in the Bachelor of Community Services, that's 2 placements of 200 hours. And that is over 1 trimester. So essentially, most of that trimester is dedicated to the placement. With the Bachelor of Social Work and the Masters in Social Work, these also are aligned to meet the accreditation requirements of the AASW. And the AASW is the Australian Association of Social Workers. And so according to their requirements, all students need to complete 2 placements of 500 hours. And again, we have that running over 1 trimester, but it is quite intense because it's 500 hours. So students need to plan for those placements. The placements in the Bachelor of Community Services is going to be the 3rd trimester of your 2nd year, and the Bachelor of Social Work will be the 1st trimester of your 3rd year and the final trimester of your 4th year. And the Masters of Social Work is placed at the 3rd trimester of your 1st year and the 3rd trimester of your 2nd year. And then the 2nd placement for Bachelor of Community Services is your final subject for your 3-year degree. I want to just make a comment about graduating with a Bachelor of Social Work and a Masters of Social Work. It is, they're all 3 vocational degrees, but with once you graduate with a social work degree, once you've had a couple of years working in mental health, for example, you can apply to become credited as a mental health practitioner. And there's some real benefits to that. And that is that you can, if you're interested in counselling, you can be Medicare claimable. So that means people can, when they come and see you, they can claim some of the money that they pay towards you through Medicare, which is a really, really big thing because it means that if you are wanting to become a counsellor or a therapist, it's much more enticing for people to be able to know that they can claim some of the payments through Medicare. So I just wanted to make a comment about that.
Yeah. And just wanted to clarify as well, Natalie, in terms of the accreditations with both CWA and AASW, we're fully accredited with those at the moment for those courses?
We have conditional accreditation. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that the Masters of Social Work is in a blended format, which means that 8 subjects are available online, and 6 subjects involve some online, but you must come onto campus for a sort of a 4-day workshop or a 5-day workshop. So it's an intensively delivered subject. Therefore, our skills subjects, and we must do that for 2 reasons. One is that because social work is a skills-related discipline, the AASW requires us to teach skills subjects face-to-face. And the other reason why it's very important to come onto campus for those skills subjects is for international students that still meets their visa requirements if they're on a student visa.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so if there's any questions in relation to that, we will go through those as well. So we'll just move on to the next question, our next slide. So domestic student scholarships, just in relation to that, for this coming intake, please get in contact with your course advisor. Everyone has been assigned to a designated course advisor. They'll be reaching out to you over the coming days, or you may have already been in contact with them. So when you're speaking with them, they will go through how we currently have the domestic student scholarships, which are just in place for the upcoming intake, which is trimester 3, which is starting on the 14th of September. So the scholarships that are listed there in front of you, the foundation scholarship for Masters of Social Work, there's a 15% scholarship. Students must be accepted into and commence this course within 2026, which is our trimester 3 intake. Domestic students that are coming in for the domestic access scholarship, which is a 50% discount on both our Bachelor of Community Services and Bachelor of Social Work. Students must also start in with trimester 3 for that. And alumni scholarship is available for all courses. If you have previously studied with ICON for 1 year, you are eligible for that 20% financial scholarship towards your studies. Fee help is also eligible for any eligible domestic students. Please get in contact with your course advisor just to ensure that everything is above board for that, and they will get on to you in the coming days once again over that. So just moving on. Just in relation to the flexible delivery mode, I know you were going through it a little bit there, Natalie, earlier, but just a bit of clarification perhaps to ensure around the 4 different courses, what the flexibility is around the delivery mode for those.
Yeah. So when it says on campus, that means that, we're anticipating that students will come onto campus. And most of the degrees involve on-campus subjects. The Bachelor of Community Services and the Bachelor of Social Work and the Diploma in Community Services, they do have one subject that's available online, but essentially most of it is requiring face-to-face attendance. And that's really positive for our international students who are required to attend physically on campus. We have four locations: Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Adelaide. And then we have, as I mentioned before, a blended delivery, and that's relevant for students who are interested in the Masters in Social Work. So as I mentioned, blended means some online delivery and some subjects delivered in person. And of course, the placement subjects always need to be in person as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for going through that. Just moving on, I feel what makes ICON special. ICON is one of the leading institutions within community services and social work currently. We have facilities that you're able to learn from the expert faculty with years of industry experience. As Natalie was going through there at the start, she has many years of experience, and all of our lecturers have that sort of experience as well. We also support culture for work placements and practical programs. Our institute and graduates are trusted within the sector. So, Natalie, you might be able to speak to a little bit around the work placements.
Yeah, I did want to say is a couple of things about that too. Is that I've not been here for a long time. I've been here for just over 12 months, I suppose, with ICON, but I have worked in other universities. And what is really beautiful about ICON is that there's a very strong student kind of experience presence. So there's so many people who are around and very happy to help students. And compared to the bigger universities that I've worked in, you can actually, students know who they can speak to. Bigger universities, you often, people can feel very lost and very isolated. Whereas at Icon, it's just, there's people on the front desk all the time, and they're happy, and they're really happy to help. And it's actually a really, really beautiful thing that Icon does. And I haven't seen it very often in other institutions. So I just want to mention that. I've also been working to build our teaching faculty, and I'm working really hard to employ really special people, people who are really passionate about student education, people who are creative and innovative in the way that they facilitate the teaching. And I feel really happy about the teachers that we are employing. We've just working really hard to have a very supportive faculty. I was going to say something else about that, but it's just slipped out of my head. What was I going to say? But anyway, it might come back to me. The other thing that's really I think, has us stand apart is that we organise placements for students. So in some institutions, students are required to organise their own placements, and that can be really hard. And I know that in some other places, students have actually had to delay their progress because they haven't been able to get a placement. So we've actually set up a partnership program with organisations, within each of our city locations, with some real incentives for agencies to choose us for placements. And that has all been for the purposes of having a really strong pipeline of placements for students, that you don't have to find, that we find for you and we organise for you. So I think that's really makes us stand out amongst the sector as well. And a lot of the students that we've got coming so far into our programs, because community services and social work is relatively new for Icon, but what I've heard from people who've chosen to come to us is they've heard really good things about our counselling and art therapy programs, and they've said, we've heard really good things about Icon, and so but I wanted to study social work, so I've decided to come to Icon for that reason. So it's really interesting to hear those things on the ground, and to see that graduates are trusted, and that people do recommend Icon. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that holistic approach that comes in from the counseling and psychotherapy and the arts therapy element of where our base is really does flow throughout the whole campus. Just moving
Hey,
on.
I just remembered something else, Ross. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
There's
please.
one thing I haven't mentioned, which is a really exciting thing. So in our Bachelor of Social Work program, we have some electives, and those electives, students can choose from a range of subjects. And what is really unique about Icon is that the electives that you can choose from include some art therapy and counselling subjects. Now, if anyone is interested in really kind of exploring becoming a counsellor, it is fantastic because these subjects are really creative, interesting subjects. So you actually get a very strong base foundation in counselling approaches, which is definitely not available in any other university that I've come across. So I think I did need to mention that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And even from speaking with people that have gone through or that are going through that pathway, they've said that they're finding that they didn't really think that that was necessary towards social work, but it's really invaluable when you get into working within social work, I suppose, that you have that skill set as well to be
Exactly.
able to impart on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, just as I went through earlier, we are there to support you every step of the way. We're here to help you achieve your study goals. The ways that we can do that, obviously, as I mentioned, we have our course advisors. Myself and Nikisha are here today, but each one of you, if you've put in your inquiry, you'll be assigned to a course advisor. Get in contact with them over the call or over an email, and they're happy to help you just to personalize the course advice to help you choose the best option that actually fits you. We also have a fantastic student experience team they go above and beyond for all of our students by supporting your academic and personal success throughout your time with us. The facilities and resources are extremely modern. The classroom facilities are well-equipped rooms. They're dedicated spaces for all forms of work. I'm sure you're experiencing that within your lectures or any of the lecturers that you're speaking with, Natalie. We also have the online resources that you're able to interact online. You have a digital library that you can reach out to, the academic resources there to help you support with your learning. In terms of that digital library, what you will find is that all of your reading will be available within the digital library, which is absolutely fantastic to be able to assist you through your studies. Just moving on. So we've come to the Q&A session. So we might just go through a couple of the questions that may be left here, if that's okay, Natalie.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So just to clarify, so let's see here. How many days are students expected to be on site for the Bachelor of Social Work? Can it be a mix of online and just come for intensives?
No, so the Bachelor of Social Work is different. It doesn't have an intensive format. You are coming in onto campus for those subjects. You generally do 3 subjects, 3 or 2 subjects each trimester, which really only means that you are actually have to be on campus for a day and a half. And we try and condense the subjects. So as we try not to have you coming in more, 3 days for 3 subjects, if you know what I mean. Each subject involves coming in for like a 3-hour workshop, and we run it as a workshop. So it's kind of it's facilitated, it's engaging, it's kind of like group work, but learning through a kind of group work format. With content that's delivered, but also, you have the opportunity to practice and discuss, explore case studies, things like that.
Perfect. One question here, didn't quite catch what you said about the 3 programs as a vocational course to mental health part.
Oh, okay. So what I was saying was, I think what I said is that a qualification in social work and community services takes you into a job directly. For example, if you did a Bachelor of Arts majoring in, English literature, it can be really hard to get a job because there's not a specific job title for you as having completed a Bachelor of Arts. Whereas if you complete a Bachelor of Community Services or a Bachelor of Social Work, there are positions out there that are titled community services worker or social worker. And so it's a vocational course, which means you go straight into a job that is described in that way. The other
Absolutely.
bit, I think the other part of that question was there was a second kind of component in that question. Could you read the question again, Ross?
Yeah, the vocational program, vocational courses to mental health.
Oh, yeah. So then the other thing I was mentioning about mental health is that if you complete a social work degree, master's or bachelor's, and you get experience working in the mental health field, you then can become accredited as a mental health worker, social worker, and then you can be claimable through Medicare.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully that clarifies.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've gone through a couple on how many days per week. Just have a few questions there. What is the work-life balance of Bachelor of Social Work?
So for studying, for every 3 hours that you may be studying a subject, there's an expectation that you would be doing 9 hours of, additional work. So that would include doing some readings. It would include assignment work. So you can kind of think about it like that from that point of view. But of course, the times that you do that work is in your own time. So it could be, obviously you could be working in the evenings or, on the weekends or whatever. And so, we do talk a lot about work-life balance in social work, because one of the risks for social workers is that we might burn out because we're really wanting to help a lot of people. And sometimes you can get very emotionally involved in that work. So we do talk a lot about how to manage and ensure that we don't burn out. So we hope that would be the case also for your education, that you're not going to be so overloaded that you can't cope. I must say that placement is more intensive, and it does require more days out of your week to do the placement. So, but that is common across all universities. Everyone has to do those 500-hour placements for social work. So that does mean that you could be at placement 4 days a week, as an example, to get through the 500 hours across the trimester.
Perfect. Just another question here. As social work is a new program at ICON, what would be the main advantages or strengths of choosing ICON compared with universities or institutions that have been offering accredited social work programs for many years?
Well, there's a couple of things. I've already mentioned a few things. So, for example, that there is some electives which are counselling based, which are really creative. Like, I think there's one elective that's around, doing play therapy with children, which is, I did some of those courses after I finished my Bachelor of Social Work because I was really interested in it. But that's a subject that you can do in the program. So that's actually amazing. The other thing that's really good about our program is that we have just written the program, basically. So we're bringing into the subject material really contemporary ideas. So we're talking about the latest theories. We're really in touch with what's happening out there in the field. So it's a very contemporary course. And there's two other things. One is that we really choose a lot of creative modalities for teaching the subjects. So we want to use a lot of creative ways of engaging students in the learning. And the other point that I was going to make, one last point, was, it's gone out of my head again.
I feel also the holistic approach that we sort of went through earlier in terms of coming from that counseling and psychotherapy background with the arts therapy background, that all coming together, that holistic approach that we offer across the board. And also I feel the student experience team, the lecturers, they're all really fantastic. They're all willing to do everything for you. You would also have a smaller program as well that you'd have a little bit more one-on-one time. That does make a fantastic difference towards advancing your skills and getting you to where you wish to be.
I think the other thing I was going to mention was that we've designed our assessments to be really oriented to what you would be doing out there in the workplace. So a lot of the assessments are things that we would expect you to do. So, for example, we teach a subject called group work, and as a social worker or community services worker, you may often have to apply for a grant to run a group. So one of the assignments is actually preparing a proposal for how you're going to run the group. The other part of that subject is that you actually facilitate a group as part of an assessment. So we're giving you like grassroots skills linked to your assessments. So it's not so much about writing essays. There is some of that, but we do try and think about what would you be required if this was your sort of area in the workforce. what would you need to do and what assessments can we tailor to ensure that you come out having had an experience of doing that task. So that's the other thing that's quite unique, I think.
Just another question here, Natalie. Is the counselling elective only for Bachelor of Social Work, or is it the same with the Masters of Social Work?
No, so the Masters of Social Work, because it's condensed into 2 years, we have specific core units, which is content that we have to get through in order to meet our accreditation requirements. So we unfortunately we can't give you those electives, but like I said, you're coming out with a master's. You've probably done some undergraduate training already, which would have some certain sort of strengths to it. And, coming out with whatever degree you have, it is your starting point to building your skill set. So as I mentioned earlier, I'll just give you a little example. I mentioned that I've really identified as a narrative therapist, so that's a particular mode of counselling. But leading up to doing my master's in narrative therapy, which is what I did an individual counselling course. I did couple counselling course. I did lots of small courses, play therapy, sand tray therapy, all sorts of things to kind of build my skill set. And you don't begrudge that because you're learning really specific and very valuable skills to be able to work with people. And in the end, as a social worker, if you are doing counselling, you want to be able to have a toolbox of skills that you can draw on that's going to meet the needs of your particular client. So any additional training you do after you've finished your course is adding to your toolbox.
Yeah. Just another one here. I think we may have gone through this previously, but how many days of placement per week is the minimum?
So we really think realistically that 3 days is your absolute minimum, because otherwise it'll go beyond the trimester, and that will be problematic for you. So unless you have flexibility to not do subjects or to kind of stagger your subjects a little bit more, but like I said, if you're talking social work, all universities require for at least 4 days. Three would be absolute minimum, but really everyone mostly does 4 to 5 days on placement. So it is something that you have to kind of prepare for financially.
Perfect. And the last question here, how many days per week are there requirements for face-to-face, particularly for Masters of Social Work? I know we went through this previously, but just to clarify.
Yeah, so the Masters, it's a little bit hard to say. So you come in for intensive. So sorry, I need to explain this better. Some subjects in the Masters are delivered online, but they're delivered online in real time. Okay, so that means you actually have to be present online with a group of students and your teacher, and that may be some classes are only 1 hour with some check-ins. Some classes are 3 hours. So that's one part. The other is the intensive component. So you may be required to come onto campus for 5 days, for studying 5 days intensively. There is one subject where you might just come onto campus for 1 day in week 4 of the trimester. And the week intensives run, you really only have probably 5 times that you have to come onto campus, but they vary in length of days. The longest intensive is 5 days.
Okay. And a last question in here. Apologies if I missed it earlier. Since the MSWQ currently has provisional AASW accreditation, what happens to students if full accreditation is not granted or the accreditation is withdrawn during the course? For example, if a student is due to complete the course in September 2028, what protection or pathway would be available?
That's a good question, and we are working really hard to make sure that we meet our accreditation requirements, so that won't be an issue. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what the answer to that is. I think it's something I have to really find out, is what it would mean if we didn't get the accreditation. But we're doing everything we can to ensure that we do meet the accreditation requirements. It's a very huge priority for us, is to make sure that we are delivering the course as the ASW would want us to do that. So I feel like I'm not really answering that question very well, but I actually haven't explored that possibility in my own mind, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I feel that we would have the answer for that when if that was to be an eventuality. But I feel we are doing everything within our power to ensure that that remains an accreditation. And you can really see that in how we've structured the course to make it as fitting for people as possible to be able to come to the course while having to have that in-person element. As you were looking, a lot of questions coming in about face-to-face elements. That is to ensure that we're meeting that AASW accreditation. So we're doing everything within our power to ensure that we have that. And please reach out to us if that was to be the case. We would have a means to be able to ensure that the student is securely assured with that outcome.
I think what I can do, Ross, is just let the course advisors know the full answer to that question, and then if students are concerned about that, to talk to their course advisors directly.
Yeah, I agree. Please reach out to your course advisors. We will surely have the answer for that if anyone has difficulties with that, and also reach out to your student support team if you wish to whilst you're studying. We're always happy to answer and always accommodating in that regard. Perfect. I think that's all the questions here. I have one more question here. I'm worried about trying to pursue Bachelor of Social Work whilst working. The financial side of things is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is there. There is always a demand for students trying to manage and juggle everything. But depending upon your particular situation, if you are a domestic student, then there may be flexibility in terms of how many subjects you take per trimester. You can potentially slow your program down a little bit if that's a concern. I always encourage people to talk to their workplace about study leave and things like that, because if you're working in the sector, potentially in maybe a support role or something like that, there's a real incentive for the organisation or the company for you to be upskilling. So there can be opportunities where some employers will give study leave, so you still get paid, but you have to take the study leave. We also can look a little bit more to, we are looking at a bit more of sort of evening classes, and a lot of the master subjects are delivered in the evening, so that also gives people a bit more flexibility.
Okay, perfect. I think just looking at time, we might just leave the questions there. If you do have any further questions, please put them forward to your course advisors. They are more than happy to help, and they will be able to reach out to you in the coming days. So we'll just move on to our last section here. So just the next steps for yourselves. As I said, you have a designated course advisor that will be in touch with you soon. Happy to help and give you further information and guidance. Starting the application is really quick and easy. You can save your progress as you complete it. The next step is that we are starting in September. That's the next intake. we can help you fast track your application if you reach out to your course advisor. Just head over to icon.edu.au /apply to start your journey. Also, just wanted to mention that anyone that is currently in Melbourne, we do have an open day next Saturday, 22nd of August. Come down and get a feel for what it's like and see what it's like to study with us during our live workshops. They'll be really fantastic if anyone is around Melbourne next Saturday. And also head over to the Icon website just to register for that. Yeah, so thank you very much, Natalie, for tonight. Really appreciate that. We do appreciate all the questions that came in as well tonight. We're happy to answer any questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer any further questions through our course advisors. Thank you very much and have a good night. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikisa.
Thanks.
And thank you, Lally.